White, man, Stephanie White completely downplaying and trying to dismiss the epic performance in the fourth quarter that Caitlin Clark put on, putting the team on her back, helping almost win a game where your bum ass was sabotaging, where your ass ran the final play for Kelsey Mitchell, who was 10 of 25 for 24 points. You refuse to give her credit. This is disgusting. It's disgusting. Get this lady the hell out of here. Don't only get her, pack her bags, pack up Amber Cox and Kelly Croft's things as well. Pack them all up and get them the hell out of here immediately. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated. I've had it up to here.
The civil war inside the Indiana Fever organization has officially turned nuclear, and we are witnessing a level of inner sabotage that should have every single basketball fan in the country absolutely livid. What happened in the post-game press conference following their heartbreaking loss to the Washington Mystics wasn't just a simple disagreement or standard coach speak. It was a cold, calculated, and completely disgusting display of institutional disrespect aimed directly at a generational superstar. While Caitlin Clark was busy putting the entire franchise on her back and pulling off an absolute miracle to save a crumbling game, her own head coach was sitting in the back preparing to diminish the achievement. The relationship between this coaching staff, the front office, and their franchise savior has officially dissolved into a total circus. We need to call a spade a spade. Stephanie White has completely lost the plot, and the receipts that surfaced from tonight's game prove that this organization is actively working against its own success. To fully comprehend the depth of this betrayal, you have to look at the sheer weight of what Caitlin Clark actually pulled off on that hardwood. The Fever were facing a bleak, late-game deficit, buried in a deep hole entirely because of stagnant offensive sets and defensive breakdowns. But when the fourth quarter arrived, number 22 decided she was done playing within a broken system. She put on an absolute shooting clinic, exploding for 18 massive points in the final frame alone. She was launching bombs from the logo, hitting 5 colossal three-pointers, more than her entire production from the first 2 games combined. It was a display of pure, unadulterated willpower that single-handedly dragged a lifeless roster back from the dead and forced the game into overtime. It was must-see television, a magical, transcendent performance that should have had her coaching staff singing her praises from the rooftops. But what happened next would shock everyone. When the media sat down in the post-game press room, a reporter asked Stephanie White a remarkably simple, direct question. He pointed out that Caitlin had just dropped 5 three-pointers in the fourth quarter to lead a furious rally and asked the coach for her specific thoughts on the rookie's incredible resilience. Any competent coach in a winning organization would lean heavily into that moment, celebrate the breakthrough, and use it to build their star's confidence for the rest of the long season. But Stephanie White couldn't bring herself to do it. Instead, she blinked, shifted uncomfortably, and delivered a line that made the entire room go completely cold. She stated, "I thought our whole group showed resilience." The reporter did not ask about the whole group, Stephanie. He asked specifically about Caitlin Clark single-handedly saving your coaching job after a massive choke performance. This deliberate refusal to give her superstar credit isn't just poor leadership. It is a clear sign of an agenda designed to suppress the gravity of their biggest draw. This tactical erasure is happening while the coaching staff completely ignores the massive $1.4 million black hole operating in their starting backcourt. We need to have a very raw, honest conversation about Kelsey Mitchell, because her play style has officially crossed the line into total malpractice. Mitchell finished the night shooting a highly inefficient 10 of 25 from the floor for 24 points. But the scoring numbers hide a much uglier reality. For the second consecutive game, Kelsey Mitchell played massive minutes and recorded exactly 0 assists and 0 rebounds. Think about the sheer math of that failure. You are out there for 70 minutes of professional basketball as a starting guard, and you cannot accidentally stumble into a single pass that leads to a bucket. The ball hit her hands and instantly died, while teammates like Maisha Hines-Allen were logging 5 assists, and even Aaliyah Boston was facilitating from the floor. Mitchell was sprinting around the perimeter, ball hogging, and jacking up contested bricks without a single thought for the flow of the offense. And the blame for this structural nightmare falls squarely on the shoulders of general manager Amber Cox and a front office that has constructed an absolute disaster of a roster. This past offseason, 80% of the league's talent pool consisted of free agents, giving Indiana the perfect asset-building window to surround Caitlin Clark with elite size, switchable defenders, and high IQ playmakers. Instead, Amber Cox concocted a guard-bloated circus. The front office handed Kelsey Mitchell a massive $1.4 million contract, making her the top financial priority, and then proceeded to gather an endless parade of redundant perimeter players. They drafted a guard in the third round who didn't even make the training camp roster. They brought in Ty Harris, who looked completely incapable of even bringing the ball up the court tonight, forcing a post player like Aaliyah Boston to play point forward just to survive a press. This isn't professional franchise management. It is a joke. The consequences of this executive hubris came home to roost in the most painful way possible, when the interior completely collapsed. Aaliyah Boston, who entered the regular season already banged up from her time in the unrivaled league, suffered a lower leg injury and was forced to exit the game. When asked for a medical update at the podium, Stephanie White shrugged and claimed she knew absolutely nothing. With Boston out of the lineup, the total lack of frontcourt depth was brutally exposed. The Washington Mystics looked at Indiana's tiny, guard-heavy rotations and ruthlessly exploited the paint, racketing up a staggering 58 points in the paint. The Fever got absolutely manhandled down low because they have zero interior presence and zero rim protection. Fans spent months screaming from the rooftops that the team was too small, only for management to dismiss them on social media. Now, the season is in serious jeopardy because the front office was too stubborn to address basic basketball reality. The sheer incompetence of the staff's rotational patterns was fully exposed right back in the first quarter when the team actually held a commanding 12-point lead. The ball was moving, Caitlin had it rolling with back-to-back threes, and the offense was completely clicking. And right in the middle of that historic momentum, Stephanie White decided to bench her. It was a rhythm-killing substitution that completely derailed the entire game. The moment Caitlin hit the bench, the Fever went 4 straight minutes without making a single field goal. 4 minutes of pure offensive stagnation that allowed Washington to erase the deficit and seize total control of the floor. White stands at the podium talking about the need to find productive combinations while she is actively destroying the combinations that work. She is playing defense against her own team, executing decisions that directly benefit the opponent's defensive game plan. What we are witnessing in Indiana is a masterclass in how to ruin a golden opportunity. Stephanie White does not get to stand at a podium, watch her star player drop 18 points in a single quarter, and then refuse to say her name when the media asks a direct question. The film does not lie, and the receipts are completely airtight. The fan base that has been watching this franchise under a high-powered microscope is entirely done being patient with this trash-tier management. Caitlin Clark is being suffocated by an outdated system, a selfish veteran backcourt, and a coaching staff that would rather protect their own egos than win basketball games. If changes aren't made immediately to pack the bags of this entire leadership class, the greatest era this franchise has ever been handed will be burned to the ground from the inside out.